Friday is all about closing the sale. So there's whole training courses written about closing the sale. You can buy many of the courses from the famous brands out there, just purely content all about closing the sale. Because Friday is a really important part of it. One of the biggest pitfalls of a consultative selling approach, in my opinion, is that you can do all of the preceding bits really, really well and not actually close the customer. Sometimes you can get into a situation where you don't feel as if you need to. You feel as if you've done such a good job you don't need to. However, as anybody that's been in selling for a long time will tell you, you still need to close. So let's have a look at it. This is a still from one of my favourite films, sales-related films. This is Glengarry Glen Ross, and this is Alec Baldwin here playing a character who is basically, he has been sent, he's the top performing real estate guy for this particular big New York firm, and he's been sent to this ailing team of real estate agents who are selling this land, and he's been sent to them to basically tell them where they're going wrong. And he's not a particularly nice character. He doesn't go down there to help them. He tells them that unless they sell, and they sell well, they'll all be fired by the end of the week. And he gives them, so he basically says, out of sympathy to them, because he's so sad that they're all these losers and he's this highly successful millionaire character, he's saying he's going to give them his secret. He's going to basically, on this chalkboard, he's going to give them a secret. And he writes the two down. And the one I'm interested in here for this section for you is his ABC. Now, I saw this film years ago before I was really into the whole arena of sales coaching, and I didn't really understand the significance of it. But the more I've been in selling, the more you realise the significance of always closing. Closing each section. Now, not just, and everyone thinks about this in terms of, you remember what I was saying about you think you should be asking for the business all the time. We're not talking about that. We're talking about we're closing each part of the process all the way through the sales call. From booking an appointment with a customer to opening the call, to asking them questions on the Tuesday phase, to pitching, to objection handling, and finally to the actual closing phase. We're closing throughout. We're actually asking for things all the way through the process. So ABC, despite being from a film and a not particularly nice character, keep this in your mind. You need to be closing things, because if you don't close, you will find you won't make progress. And that's what sales is all about. It's all about making progress in a process. So do not assume agreement. This is possibly the biggest pitfall you can have when you are new to consultative selling. Not even new to consultative selling. When you've been doing consultative selling for a long time, it's really easy to assume that you've got agreement from your customers because you've uncovered lots of explicit needs and you've had a really great discussion, you've pitched really well, and there's agreement around the room for all sorts of things, apart from, are they actually going to do what you originally set out as your objective for the call beforehand? Because that ultimately is the whole definition of success. Remember, we came back to what success was. Success was getting an order, a booking, or a sale, or moving to the next stage in the process. They should be your objectives. If you have a nice call but nothing new happens, or you're rejected from the process, they're not successful sales calls. So you have to have a plan to close. I implore you to make sure that as part of your call plan, you have a plan that you are going to close. Otherwise, you may forget to close. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? There are some people out there that are natural closers. There are some people that will just naturally ask for things all the time. But there are many of us, and I'll include myself in this, who sometimes we've done such a great job. We're brilliant interviewers. We're brilliant at building rapport with our customers, and we forget to ask them for what we actually want them to do. It's so important. So let's look at some types of closes. Now, you can go online and you can buy whole courses on lots of different clever ways of closing the sale. Now, let's not be too prescriptive of this. My main point here is you have to close in some way of some format. You can't not close at all. But let's just have a think about a few types of close. But don't get caught up in thinking you have to have a plan at each call to come up with something really, really clever, because you've done all the hard work and it should be quite an easy phase of the call. So let's have a look. So there's a direct close. So after you've done your presentation pitch, after you've talked about the objections they might have, you say, so how about it? Should we go ahead with this? Should we, would you like to buy it? When would you like it? How many of these would you like? That kind of thing. Direct, straight to the point. Really good with your driver type customers. The assumptive close. So this is a close where you don't necessarily want them to ask them a really direct question, but you want it to be known that some action is going to follow. So this would be, for example, so should I put you down for 5 of those? So what date do you want that delivered on? They're all assumptive. So you're already assuming your customer said yes. You're assuming they've said yes, and now it's time for you to actually put a plan of action in place. Now, it's a good close, but it can get some customers' backs up. They might say to you, they might be thinking internally, we never agreed that, and you're being assumptive. So people don't like that. But that's one to think about. Third party close. So this is if you've done a similar thing with a similar customer recently, you could say, so, I was just in such and such a hospital, part of your consortium, and they just agreed to this. So shall I put you down as well? And that's another good close. Can work sometimes. A really good one, offer 2 choices. So you rather than asking do you yes or no, so giving them a yes or no answer, basically both the choices that you offer your customer are both yes, but just different types of yes, essentially. So you'll say, so should I put you down for a green one or for a red one? So their choice is a green one or a red one, but the assumption is, or the choice is, they have to say yes to both of them. That's a really good close as well. I like that one. The challenge close, brilliant close. Now we're getting better. I like these. I prefer these closes. The challenge close, because I've been selling in orthopedic sales, which are surgeons, and they're a very competitive bunch. If you challenge your customer to do something, so based on the conversation we've had and the fact that you don't want to miss out on my offer, and you want to be the fastest, right? And I want to see you be the fastest. I want you to be the most successful and fastest out there. But I'm worried that someone might beat you if you don't do this. You're laying a challenge down to that customer. You're basically saying to them, you're appealing to their competitive nature, that they might get beaten unless they do what you're asking them. So this is a bit like, there's a great bit in the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, where he was asked to improve the efficiency of a factory. And he came in one evening, the night shift this was, he came in one evening and he observed the team, and he found that they managed to produce 9 finished units of this product. So 9 finished units of the product. So he wrote on the floor in chalk, so in the middle of this warehouse where they were doing this manufacturing, he wrote on the floor a number 9 for the number of finished units that they produced that day. And the next day, so the next shift comes in, and the next shift look at this number. He hasn't told them what he's doing. They look at this number on the floor and they're scratching their heads thinking, what on earth is this number? And they have their evening shift, and they produce 7 units of this product. So they go away, and Dale writes on the floor 7, the number 7. So the next shift comes in and thinks, what's that number? And then after a while, the different shifts start to understand that the number is how many units they've made each night. So suddenly what happens is each shift is trying to better each other. So the shift that wrote 9 on the floor, the next shift that comes in tries to produce 10, and they write 10 on the floor. And then the next shift, they write 11 and 11 on the floor. And this creates competition because people are naturally competitive, especially in business, especially in sort of sales environments. So it's a really good way of causing a close with your customers is to challenge them. Set a challenge for them, and you'll see how they will often rise to the challenge. Specific scenario close. So this is where we identify a specific scenario for the use of your product or service. So for me in orthopedic sales, this would be discussing a specific patient with a surgeon that they are going to use the product I've just pitched to them. This would be a specific, so we've just talked about this, you have this patient coming up, will you use it? So it's a specific scenario, but you can use that in your closes as well. Think carefully about the specific situations that it would be sensible for your customer to use your product. And then finally, probably one of the best closes in my view is the take it or leave it. Because remember, we're trying to make this customer feel significant, right? We're trying to make them feel important. So at the end of the day, it's their decision. So the take it or leave it one is it's a really good one. It's kind of no skin off my nose close, which is look, I think this is going to work for you. I think this is going to solve your problems and you deserve this because you're significant. But at the end of the day, you're the most important person in this room and it's your decision. So, you can take it or leave it. It's no skin off my nose. It doesn't affect me in any way, shape or form, but it would be a shame if you missed out. It would be a shame if you missed out on this opportunity for your sake because you're special and I want you to be special. And that can be quite a powerful close. Now, like I said before, be careful with these different types of closes because this is, again, you can get people's back up if you do them incorrectly, but the point is you must close. So let's look at some actual steps to close the deal. So they're the different types of closes we can use. Let's look at some steps. Right, so in the introduction, as we said right at the start, in the Monday phase of the call, we're going to signpost our intention to close. So the reason I'm coming to speak to you today is because, and I am going to ask you to do, and you've done it. So you've opened the call with a close. First step. This sets you up for success right from the outset. You summarize. So this is where we're going to talk about deal stack in a moment. We're going to summarize the previously agreed explicit needs that you can satisfy. So I'm going to list them. I'm going to physically list. Okay, so this is that, and we can satisfy all of these things. And one after the other, and this is a really good way of drawing things to a close. So stack the deal, really important. This is what the Americans refer to as stacking the deal. Really go to town on all the things that they want and all the things that you can satisfy. Emotion. So again, I just talked about that the fear of missing out close. Urgency. We can use urgency in this as well. So we're going to make this urgent. So your problem sounds really bad to me. It seems like you need to sort this out really quickly because otherwise it's going to lead to more and more problems, yeah? And scarcity. This deal won't be around forever. This deal is not going to be on the table forever. I've got lots of other customers interested in this. So you kind of need to make a decision because this isn't going to be around forever, which has an element of urgency in there as well. And then fear of missing out. You're going to miss out. So you will miss out. If you miss out, it's gone forever. It's scarce. It's urgent. All your customers are going to get the jump on you. Emotion is the key. And if you can link it back to significance. You can make your customers, you can saying this, the reason I care about this, the reason I'm passionate and the reason I'm asking you to do this is you're important. You are the important person in this situation. So let's look at some more steps. Agree some next actions from both parties following the agreement. So there's a saying in sales of tears over the table. Okay, so if you want to know whether your customer's actually going to do what they said they're going to do and do it well, both of you need to go away with actions that you've got to complete. There's got to be a bit of pain on both sides. We've both got to do something following that. So agree with the customer, agree with your prospect that you're both going to go away and do something following this, something significant. And then my final advice to you on closing the deal is once you have got a firm agreement from that customer, shut up and leave. Yep, I'm going to put it bluntly to you like that. Shut up and leave. Stop talking. You've got what you've come for. All you're going to do by continuing to talk about what you've just pitched is you're just going to potentially raise more objections or highlight things that they haven't thought about before. So it's absolutely vitally important that you stop talking once you've got that agreement, shake hands or whatever it is we're going to be doing now following the COVID-19 pandemic, and leave the customer premises. I cannot overstate this enough. The temptation to loiter at the customer premises, to show the fact you're pleased, avoid that by leaving and moving on to your next customer. Leave the environment, go somewhere different. If it's administration you need to do, go and do that, but go and do it somewhere else away from that customer you've just got the agreement from. So follow-up is so important. Whatever action is agreed, you must follow up within a short time period. So it must be kind of agreed between the two of you or however many parties involved, but you need to do it really, really soon after it, because in selling, and you'll learn this, momentum is everything. When you've got someone who's just said yes to you, they want to go forward with your project, is to avoid any extra elements of objection or reasons why they can't do it. Just now is the time to make sure things happen. Now is the time to fill out the paperwork straight away. Now is the time to get the goods shipped out to the customer. Now is the time to do everything you need to do to keep the sales momentum going. So let's just quickly summarize, because there's lots of information in there. Summarize the explicit needs you can satisfy. So when you're stacking that deal, make sure you're absolutely talking about all the things you've already agreed. Like it's the 3-time convincer. We've already agreed these things. It's easy for you to say yes to things you've already agreed to. Decide which type of close is most appropriate. Now play around with the closes you're using, okay? Play around with them, see what works. If you find one that is really working well, so the one, again, the fear of missing out, your significant close, no skin off my nose close, tends to work really, really well with customers of a high caliber, customers that are important, customers that are usually high paying clients. That's a really good one that I found. But play around, see what works. But the most important point is you must agree next actions for both parties, and you must close. You must make sure you do this every single call. Shut up and leave. So you've got what you came for. Now's the time to go. I've seen this happen. You might think this is a ridiculous one. I've seen this happen so many times. The salesperson gains agreement and they keep talking and they talk themselves out of it. They raise a new objection and the deal's off. Don't do this. Absolutely stupid to do. Same thing in a job interview as well. Once you've got agreement and once you've agreed, you've got the job offer, you've got the second interview, shake hands, say thank you very much and leave the interview.